expect checks up to $25,000 soon imbalance in Americans' income, and more than $500 million budget seniors to get checks. So, I got some good news and some bad news. We are gonna cover all day. Rich and wealthy are two different things. So, rich meaning you have a lot of money and you earn a lot. But to be wealthy means that you control your time, and where you invested in wealthy people are also known to have large net worths. Today, we discuss the gross imbalance of the wealthy compared to the average Americans, and we also have news on stimulus check up to $25,000. I really appreciate each and every one of you. More than 50% of $729.3 million, which will be returned to at least 850,000 residents of Maine. Now the funds are coming from the state's budget surplus, valued at $1.2 billion. State officials have also said that, quote, while the governor cannot control the impact of the pandemic on global markets, she can make sure that we deliver to the Maine people the resources they need to deal with these higher costs. In quote now, in terms of eligibility, individuals must file a 2021 Maine individual income tax return by the end of October 2022. As a full-time resident of Maine, there is an income threshold for those who are single filing or marriage filing separately, and the cap is $100,000. For those filing as head of household, the cap is set at $150,000 or $100,000 for couples filing shortly now. With the budget, allotted individuals may receive $850 for single filers and $1,700. The $850 relief payment is available whether or not Maine income taxes are owed, including for those who receive Social Security and or Supplemental Security Income SSI, so long as they meet the other eligibility criteria. If you guys need more assistance, you can call 211 or visit the website in other stimulus news. $280 million is still available from the Save the Dream Ohio program. Now, the initiative aims to promote assistance to eligible Ohio homeowners who are facing foreclosure or cannot afford to pay their mortgage, utility bills, or other related housing costs. My name is Angela. I'm a senior financial services accountant for the Florida Department of Transportation, which makes this story, I am what you would consider homeless, almost impossible to understand. How is it accountant homeless? And that's what people wonder about, because you have to pay to live. So, you can't afford to save any money to move. Since last year, Angela works and her 4 children have called this temporary hotel home. I spend almost $2,000 a month living here. Well, that's like all my income. So, I don't have any money to save to be able to put down the first month of last month a security deposit after the pandemic forced the previous employer to shut down. She lost her job, was eventually evicted, and ended up hotel hopping. By the time she got her accounting job with the state, Florida's rental market exploded, making her numbers to get into a place of her home unworkable. I don't qualify for assistance. You make too much money to qualify for assistance, but then you don't make enough money to be able to save to get somewhere else to live. So, I'm in that middle place, that gray area that I had a hard time seeing my whole life. I'm the one that's in that shady area that no one really wants to acknowledge is there. There's a stereotype like you are single and you got kids and must be on welfare. You must be doing this. No, I get up every day and go to my job, and Julia works plans to stay put. I'm an accountant, I'm really working, I'm already productive. Now, the amounts may vary, but assistance can be provided for up to $25,000. The program has 2 components. You got the mortgage assistance, which is managed by the Ohio Housing Finance Agency. You've got also the Utility Assistance Plus, which will be managed by local community action agencies on behalf of OHF. Not to be eligible, applicants must be homeowners who have a primary residence in the area and must have gone through a loss of income, which obviously with the whole pandemic situation, most people have a financial hardship or increase in expense related to the pandemic after January 1st, 2020. So, a lot of people gonna fall into that bucket. Now the annual threshold of income is capped at $147,000 annually for a household of 4. How much time do you spend at work or on household chores? How about on tasks like grocery shopping? Now, the reason I'm asking all the questions is that these are questions that the wealthy can't even answer. We can't answer them because we need to make time to be able to do all the things. But the extreme inadequacy and the two of the numbers may shock you in the last 5 decades from 1968 to 2018. The country's top earners have nearly doubled their share of the nation's income. How's that for a starter? Now, in the same span of time, the poverty rate has held steady, and speaking of income, the gap between the two worlds is astonishing. Average pay of a CEO has soared up 122% since 1978, and comparing the wage of an average American to a CEO in 2020, the difference will be 351 times. So basically, take your paychecks and multiply by 351, but here's the gap between the pay from 2019 to 2020. There's no error here. The worker pay is so small compared to the CEO that they just look like two lines compared to parts of the CEO's salary. The study was done among 100 largest low-wage employers in the country. Now, the average pay of a CEO skyrocketed by 15% in 2020 to $13.9 million per year, while their global median pay flatlined. More than half of these companies reached their own rules to inflate CEO pay, which made sure that the top executives' health bonuses were protected during the pandemic. The workers, on the other hand, did not get the same treatment. The income disparity is so huge that the richest 0.1% of America makes 196 times that of the bottom 90% of talk about setting you up for failure right now. If you thought that was incredibly distant since 1948, productivity has increased at a constant rate, but the wages of Americans and Americans workers have not now in terms of the worker hourly compensation is increased by 17% from 1979 to 2019. Think about how much work you do each and every single day and take a guess. Are you good in the same period? Worker productivity has increased by 72%. And if you think about hard work, restaurant services are up there. This guy and girls pretty much live on tips because the federal minimum wage for servicers and other tip workers has stayed stuck as it was back in 1992 or the way to 2020, no change in income. Now, in the same span of time, CEOs have had an increase in pay of about 528%. Now, although a lot of states have raised their minimum wage, still not enough as the services couldn't have much without their tips. And it's not just them, but even those who receive Social Security benefits have been affected. Between January 2020, Social Security benefits have lost 30% of their buying power. Corporations are extremely powerful, not just in our country, but all over the world to say that income and wealth inequality only exists here will be solved. Although our country has one of the biggest gaps between workers and top executives, there's no way for small business to be able to take down these giants. They are in a position where trade basically flows through them and around the globe. So, having one face across goods ultimately depends to their workers. The average worker can't miss a payment on loan or mortgages. There will be huge legal trouble or potentially be foreclosed on and harmless. The system feels like it's all but against us. And with these numbers, it's pretty hard to argue that with everything that's going on, it really seems like we are going down a path of giant reset. But who knows? This may still or be part of the plan. Inflation is only going one direction, and that's up soaring food prices. At the grocery stores, gas prices jumping 350 cents in a day. Oil and gas companies hitting record profits. Inflation has never been this high since 1982, but every little bit helps for a limited time. Only one finance is offering $50 for free when you open up a new brokerage account and in one finance. Now, offsetting the cost of inflation is to find the companies that are actually paying dividends. They are literally paying you to own their stocks, and you no longer need a lot of money to invest in one finance offers fractional share purchases, meaning you can buy a piece of stock just the other day for just $1. Be sure to get your free $50 when you open a new account and in one finance with as little as $100.